Hello friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today we're going to go through my April TBR. I have 10 books for you guys today and 2 hopefuls that I am going to read in April. I'm going to start with the books that I am pulling over from March because I did not get all of my March reads done and I have a few that I would still like to tackle. The first of those is Engines of Chaos, and so I won't talk about this since I talked about this in my March TBR. This is also going to be featured in a vlog, so just in case you guys thought I forgot, for my 500 subscriber celebration, I asked you guys what type of video you would like to see, and you voted on Reading Until I Get a 5-star, and this book is being featured in that vlog currently. And so I probably won't talk about this until that vlog is released, but I am currently reading that. I'm reading that in the background and that vlog is coming at some point in time, I promise. I just have to get a 5-star before I release it. The next book that I'm pulling over from March is Night Film, and this book, it just seems like I'm never in the right space. This book I really want to read immersively. I have tried to read it via audio, but it's a mixed media book, so you really need the physical experience, and it took me a while to get the physical book, and then I didn't have the audiobook, and blah, blah, blah. It never worked out, and so now I have both of them for the next 19 days, and so I should be able to finally get to this book, and I am excited about it. Once again, I'm not going to give the synopsis for this because I did talk about this in my March TBR, but it is about a horror film person whose daughter, I believe, dies, and we follow the events after that. So I'll just leave it short and sweet. Next, I have 4 buddy reads scheduled for this month, and 3 of them are with Leandra because we're crazy and we just, we couldn't not. And so yeah, the first 3 books that I'm going to talk to you guys about are buddy reads with Leandra. The first I am currently in the middle of, and that is Cascade Failure. This was a complete surprise that we were going to end up reading this book together, and it was really because I sent Leandra a picture of my Libby hold coming in for Cascade Failure because I've wanted to read this for a really long time. It really was originally a cover, not purchase, but a cover TBR, and I also really liked the description of what this book is. It's described as a sci-fi, like a fun sci-fi found family-esque, but also where there's some pretty high stakes and kind of massive world and galaxy changing events that are happening. And so I wanted to see what it's about. So I am currently reading this with Leandra and we are both currently enjoying it. We shall see if that continues, but I will let you guys know at the end of this month what I thought of this read. The next book I'll be reading with Leandra is called Dead Dead Girls, and I honestly didn't know anything when I agreed to read this with Leandra, but it does sound interesting. It says the start of an exciting new historical mystery series set during the Harlem Renaissance, and it is a debut novel, which is exciting. It says Harlem 1926, young black women like Louise Lloyd are ending up dead. Following a harrowing kidnapping ordeal when she was in her teens, Louise is doing everything she can to maintain a normal life. She's succeeding too. She spends her days working at Maggie's Cafe and her nights at the Zodiac, which is Harlem's hottest speakeasy. Louise's friends, especially her girlfriend, Rosa Marie, might say that she's running from her past and the notoriety that still stalks her, but don't tell her that. It sounds really fun, and I like 1920s vibes in books, and so we'll see how it goes. The next read with Leandra is The Wickwire Watch, and this book is actually for a secret project of mine, so I can't tell you much about why I'm reading it, and you won't hear me talk about it for a little bit, but I promise I will get back to it at some point in time. So the only thing I know about this is I think it's steampunk-esque. So I'm going to read a little bit of the synopsis to you. It says, trust no one. It's the first and greatest rule Inkwell Featherfield ever learned. It's also the only way he knows how to survive, besides picking pockets, dodging the law, and using every ounce of his plucky charm. But none of this will be enough to save him now. If only he never snooped around a dead man's house. If only he never found that pocket watch full of strange magic. If only he'd known the old man had snuffed it at the hands of a ghostly specter. Or that such dark spirits even existed. Because now they're after him. I think it sounds fantastic, and we'll see what we think. So those are the 3 books that I am reading with Leandra. The next buddy read I have is with Jolene over at the Bookworm Adventure Girl, and we are finally getting to the Moon of the Turning Leaves, which is the sequel to Moon of the Crusted Snow. And Jolene has kindly waited for me to get this. This book was released in the United States after it was released in Canada. It took me forever to get my hands on a copy, and so we're finally going to get to this buddy read, and I am so excited. If you guys have not read The Moon of the Crusted Snow, it's about a community who is a little isolated, and they end up being even more isolated because something happens. Society kind of shuts down, and they have stopped getting their normal travelers and normal supplies from community, normal communications from the community that is closest to them. And it's in the middle of the winter, their food supply is running low. There are some leaders in the community that are trying to guide this town and kind of get them through the panic, and some unexpected people show up in their community and things ensue. This book is very haunting, and the end of the book, I think where we're headed, and I won't say any spoilers as far as like how the first book ends, but I think the second book is going to follow the community, but from the future perspective, like what ends up happening after the events that start the initial community. I'm not exactly sure if that's the case, I don't know what characters we end up following in the second book, but I am really excited to get to this. Next, I have the book I'm probably most excited about on this list, which says a lot because there's a lot of these reads that I'm really excited about, but that is The Book That Broke the World. This is the sequel to the book that wouldn't burn, which was my second favorite book of last year, and I can't wait. I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to see what Ivar and Lavera do in the future and what happens with their characters and what happens with what we learned at the end of the first book. I'm just so excited. If by chance you haven't heard me talk about The Book That Wouldn't Burn, you follow two characters, Lavera and Ivar. And Ivar lives in a library. He's kind of imprisoned in a library, and he's trying to find a way out. Lavera lives out on the dust, and something happens to her village that is outside the city limits, and she ends up having to relocate inside the city. And she has to deal with the fact that the people in the city don't really feel like she is part of it because she comes from the Dusters. And their two storylines eventually collide. You have this magical, gigantic library, and these kingdoms also being kind of at war and struggling with their past as well as potential future events. And I loved the first book. It was amazing, and I can't wait to continue. The next three books that I'm going to mention, I will not be talking to you guys about how I feel about them until my secret project comes out. And I swear I will let you guys know as soon as I can about what this secret project is. So just building up the tension right now. The first book on that list is Cinder, and I don't really know a ton about this book other than it is a Cinderella retelling and it's YA. So that's all I can really tell you about Cinder. So we shall see eventually what I think about this book. The next book is The City of Stairs, which I think might be Robert Bennett Jackson's debut work. So Robert Bennett Jackson in the future has been, or in the past, has been an author I've really enjoyed. And so I am excited to dip back into some of his works, especially if this is his debut novel. And all I know about this is it is featuring a dead city that maybe isn't dead. And it has a main character who is hunting a murderer, and she is also a kind of accomplished spy and kind of gets wrapped up into the politics of this dead city, I think. And that's kind of what I got from the general premise. And I have enjoyed Robert Jackson's books in the past, because his books tend to be very fast-paced and very action-packed. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what his debut novel looks like and what this city, what the city of dead gods or city of dead beings looks like in his world, and yeah, seeing what I think. The next book is The Witch's Heart, and this is a Norse mythology retelling, I believe, and it involves someone falling in love with the trickster god Loki. And Loki has always been a character that I've been interested in, and so mythology can be hit or miss for me, and so we'll see about this one, but I haven't ever read one that focuses on Loki, and so I am curious to see where this book goes. On to my 2 hopefuls for the month. So these are books that I'm not sure if I'm going to get to. The others, I will almost assuredly get to them, but maybe at the beginning of next month versus this month. We'll see how my month goes. I always, my eyes are always bigger than my stomach, if that makes sense to reference reading as well. I always think I'm going to read more than I actually do, but wishful thinking. The first, if you guys see Andy's tail, he is down here. So that's why, if there's a floof that pops up, that's why. The first of my hopeful reads for this month is The Rose and the Thorn. So this is book 2 in the Rhaenyra Chronicles. So the Rhaenyra Revelations is somewhere on my bookshelf. I move my books around, so I think it might be on a shelf that you guys can't see. But I dearly love the Rhaenyra Revelations, and I wanted to see more of Royce and Hadrian, and so the author did a prequel series called The Rhaenyra Chronicles, and I have started that. I finished The Crown Tower last month, and so I'm starting The Rose and the Thorn this month, or hopefully I'm starting The Rose and the Thorn this month. We'll see if I get to it, but I'm excited regardless. If I have to wait a month, I will. And the last hopeful is Paladin's Faith, which is another continuation of a series. This is the T. Kingfisher series, The Saints of Steel, and each book follows a different couple within this really gritty world full of paladins who have lost their god. And so I'm not sure exactly what couple we will follow in this particular book, but I do want to get to this at some point this year, and so hopefully I can get to it in the month of April. If you guys like fantasy, if you like horror, if you like romance, this is a really good blend of all three, and throw in T. Kingfisher's humor. I've really enjoyed most of the books in this series. I do think my favorite is the second book. My least favorite is the third book currently, and this is the 4th book in the series, so I'm hoping it will pick back up that enjoyment for me. Not that I hated the third book by any means, I just thought the third book's romance was a little muddled, and there were a lot of really large things that happened in the third one that I think probably could have been clarified a bit more, so I'm hoping that in the 4th book we'll get a little bit more clarification. So those are the 10 books that I will be reading in April and the 2 books I hope to be reading in April. I am sure that my TBR will go off the rails again, as it does every month, but these are the ones that I am really focusing on. They're my priority reads. That's what I'm telling myself right now. What books are you excited to read in April? What books did you absolutely love in March? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to chat with you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.